Joining me on this broadcast is Shairee Malhotra, Associate Fellow at the Observer Research Foundation, to speak about India-France relations and the importance of the ties. Shairee, many thanks for joining us over here on World Today. We've seen a lot of optics between the two countries when it comes to the visit itself, but let's talk about the significance and the substance of the visit and the relationship.
Well, Geeta, firstly, thank you so much for having me here on your program. I think this is a relationship that matches symbolism and substance. You mentioned the optics, and the optics are, of course, wonderful. The fact that, President Joe Biden was originally supposed to be the chief guest at the Republic Day, but couldn't make it, and hence President Macron was invited to be here instead. And the fact that, President Macron accepted at such a short notice demonstrates the fact that France is an ally that India can, always count on. And I think this is really the speciality of this relationship. The fact that both countries have very similar conceptions of the world order, the fact that they both pursue a fiercely independent foreign policy, and the fact that they don't interfere in each other's internal affairs. You may recall that when the Russia-Ukraine war began, a lot of Western countries had a problem with India initially because India did not explicitly condemn Russia, but France was okay with it. That didn't really lead to a major hiccup in this partnership. So I think the fact that both countries can have fundamentally differing positions on critical issues, yet keep this relationship going forward, is a speciality of the relationship, because both countries are very cognizant of each other's need to exercise their own choices when it comes to foreign policy, and this removes potential friction points that could emerge. You talked about the substance of the relationship. Well, I would say that this is a very comprehensive, very multifaceted partnership where cooperation spans a range of sectors, of course, beginning from defense and security, which is the strongest and the traditional pillar of this partnership. But things have also expanded to include cooperation in areas such as climate change, energy transition, space, counterterrorism.
Right. Shairee, uh, we spoke about counterterrorism, maritime security, and all those aspects, but let's just focus on the defense partnership. Where do you see Make in India? We've seen a lot of conversations. We are buying Rafales off the shelf. But where do you see the Make in India progress, and also the proposal of an India-France partnership where manufacturing could be done in India, and the defense equipments will not just be absorbed by India, but also could be supplied to a third country, in this case, the UAE as well. So where do you see India-France partnership at the defense level, and then India becoming a supplier to other countries as well?
So, as I mentioned, defense is really at the core of this partnership, and France has emerged as India's second biggest arms supplier after Russia. France currently has a share of about 29% in India's defense imports. And if you compare that to a country like the United States, with whom India's ties are rapidly expanding, and yet the share of defense imports to India is only 11%. And this is really because, there is this sense and this perception that France is a much easier, more willing, more generous partner to deal with for India. There are less strings attached when it comes to France, especially when compared to the United States, where arms acquisition can become quite difficult. And in this sense, yes, France is also emerged as a major partner when it comes to diversification away from Russia, because that is a relationship that is currently under a little bit of strain, given that Russia's own army is military is depleting because of the Russia-Ukraine war. So given the trend and the trajectory of India-France defense ties, I think Make in India certainly is a possibility. It will get a boost from this relationship, and boost India's ambitions when it comes to indigenous defense manufacturing. When it comes to progress on the big ticket defense deals, the Rafales for the Indian Navy, the Scorpion submarines. I think we may have some progress during this trip. And of course, critically, what's really important is this whole endeavor to co-develop and co-produce together. So this relationship now, we're seeing a transition from not just being a buyer-seller model, but towards one where there is co-production, co-development, co-designing taking place. So of course, these are commercial contracts. One really can't say when they will be concluded. But yes, you also mentioned this whole idea to scale up defense industrial cooperation between the two countries. There is this roadmap for industrial military cooperation that is expected to be adopted, and that also aims at, again, co-development, co-production of arms. Indian companies are seeking access to the French market to develop India's capacities and capabilities.
Right.
So I think there is, yes.
Shairee, finish your sentence.
Yeah, so I think yes, there is a possibility, and I think France is India's strongest partner in this regard.
Okay. Shairee, there are a lot of conflicts that we are now witnessing, whether it's the Russia-Ukraine war that impacts France directly, or for that matter now the Israel-Hamas war. The world certainly is divided on how the war is being fought in Gaza. There's a strong stand on a humanitarian pause for aid to reach Gaza. How do you see India and France really cooperate on that front?
Well, Geeta, you're absolutely right. We are living in a world of flux. The global order as we know it is completely shattering. And in this sense, the India-France strategic partnership is really viewed by both countries as a force for global good. So I think, yes, the two leaders will perhaps deliberate on these situations, the Israel-Hamas war, the Russia-Ukraine war, of course, which is going to be completing its second year, and also the situation in the Red Sea, but also expanding maritime cooperation when it comes to the Indo-Pacific region. But you asked specifically about the Israel-Hamas war. And I would say that there are some similarities in the Indian and French approach, because both countries are seen as, breaking away from their traditional position, which has been more receptive towards the concerns of Arab states. But now this balancing act that India and France have played for a long time does seem to be evolving into somewhat of a more pro-Israeli stance. Having said that, Macron has urged for a ceasefire in the region. He's called for more humanitarian aid into Gaza, but at the same time, he's also stood by Israel and said that the country, does have a right to defend itself. But as the conflict is evolving, we are seeing some positions shifting. France and India are both increasingly questioning Israel's disproportionate response. Also, when it comes to France, we have to remember that there's also the domestic risk of sparking tensions, given that France is home to Europe's largest both Jewish as well as Muslim population. But when it comes to what both countries, India and France, can do together to address the situation, I think it would require more than just diplomatic efforts on the part of India and France. Uh, this is a very complex, long-standing conflict. International consensus is needed. The role of the United States is, of course, paramount. I think for now, three objectives would really be under focus. The first one would be to fight terrorism, as you mentioned, the humanitarian assistance. So, countries are trying to get in more humanitarian aid to Gaza, and also, attempt for a more long-lasting ceasefire. On the political front, once things do settle down a little bit in this area, perhaps there will be a resumption of discussions on the two-state solution.
Shairee Malhotra, thank you so much for joining us here on World Today.